What's up, everybody? I am your host, Do Thank You, and this is the Do Thank You podcast, episode number 3. And today's episode is going to be called The Cost of Having a Different Perspective. This is a very special episode because politics is something that I've just started diving into seriously over the last couple years. The 2024 election and my fascination with what was going on with politics, because I never was really involved in politics or keeping a close eye on it growing up. I paid specific attention to this one because it was a lot of different things going on in the media, a lot of different things being said on the news, CNN and various other news outlets. And there was a lot of propaganda, misinformation going around. So I paid close attention because I stumbled upon a content creator that's from Detroit. His name is Anton Daniels.
Anton Daniels right here with Stephen A. So when Trump goes about the business of at least appearing to, the Smithsonian Museum and stuff like that, and basically trying to block access in some people's eyes to Black history and stuff like that, you don't have any issues with things of that nature? You don't find yourself questioning anything about Trump that makes you say, now that's not necessary. You don't need to do that. Or, anything that'll make you say, I don't think he's looking out for the Black community nearly as much as he should. Nothing at all. Of course,
I think that he's done more for the Black community than any president before him, especially in my lifetime. It's a regular question. It's an ongoing question. Before I even start to address Trump and how he permanently funded HBCUs, while he's working on birthright citizenship, that's literally that was for slaves. That shouldn't even exist at this point. How he created opportunity zones in his first election, in his first term in office, in order for us to invest in our own communities. We can go down the line on different things that he's done specifically for Black people. The better question is when you compare and contrast and you pay attention to somebody like a Barack Obama, who's endeared to the Black community because he can sing. I love his jeans. He wears mom jeans and he's a smooth brother. But when you ask yourself the question, what specifically did he do for Black people? You come up with nothing. Zero, zilch, nada. So how can we hold Trump to a standard that we don't even hold the first Black president in the United States of America?
But you just acknowledged earlier what Obama inherited. You understand what I'm saying? And you could get to the Affordable Care Act, 24 million people. I'm sorry, 24 million additional people have healthcare insurance. You could put some people will point to that. Some people will point to that.
The healthcare system as it stands today. The Department of Education as it stands today. It is all horrible. It is bad. And again, we diverting away from the question, what specifically did he do for Black people? Because we hold Trump to a standard that we don't even hold Obama to.
That's good.
Nobody can point to one thing.
I was able to pick up a lot of different details and insight listening to him talk about what was going on during the election cycle, a lot of exclusive information because he's tapped in with different individuals in the political sphere. So the election, we found out during one of the presidential debates, Trump was debating Joe Biden. We basically seen all the quote unquote conspiracy theorists and claims that Joe Biden wasn't in the right mental space, looking inferior, speaking incoherently.
Child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
There was a lot of claims of Joe Biden not meeting those requirements, and visually we could see it. You could even see Trump looking over at him like, what's going on with this guy? is he all right? And Anton was pointing a lot of that stuff out. As the weeks went on throughout this campaign, and once Joe Biden stepped out of the race, they anointed Kamala Harris as the candidate for the Democratic Party without a primary. So you need a primary to host all the eligible candidates for that specific party, whether it be Republican or Democrat, in order for them to debate, make their claims, make their statements about what's going on and what their solutions is as far as policy. And what we've seen is Kamala Harris did not participate in the primary. They just anointed her. People like to scream dictator and king, but from my understanding of it, we all seen it. Trump won the popular vote, won all the swing states. It's been a long time since a Republican candidate running for president won the popular vote. We've seen voting percentages in the Black community, more specifically with Black men, and the Latino vote go up in Trump's favor, because I think people were starting to get sick of what was going on in the country and wanted to embrace a different way of going about things as far as who they're voting for and as far as just having a different perspective and wanting what's best for the country. So as I'm paying attention to these things, I was expressing my thoughts and concerns about what was going on with the election with my ex-fiance. Something very interesting with, my people in the Black community on how they view politics is basically a lot of it is centered around race and who they see as fit to run for president, or whether it's any representation in politics as far as the candidates being white versus candidates being Black. We have to vote for the Black candidate, whether locally, state, or federal. It always has to be a Black person because they automatically know what's in our best interest, regardless of checking their track record, seeing everything that they've accomplished, for them to be worthy to get the nod for whatever position it is. No character check, no anything like that. Just as long as the candidate is Black, automatically knows what's in the best interest of everybody Black. Basically, a white candidate could never be in a position in the Black community's eyes that would be able to align with them and be able to address their needs simply because their skin is white. And so as I began noticing this, I'm looking at Trump and I'm looking at Kamala's interviews, and I'm noticing a common theme that's taking place. And I'm seeing Trump and J.D. Vance go and interview with anybody on both sides of the aisle. So they're going into the lion's den to interview with left-leaning media outlets. And they wasn't ducking no smoke. They sitting down and interviewing with everybody. And then what I seen with Kamala Harris is that she was very reluctant to go certain places and on certain platforms to interview and to give her pitch and her perspective on what she thinks needs to be done to fix the country. policies that she would be implementing if she is elected president. And on the interviews that she did do, I seen a lot of questions with kid gloves, as they like to say. Her regurgitating the same talking points, a lot of word salad, a lot of dancing around different questions and not getting down to the root of what the question actually is, not answering it.
With her. While the whole thing sounded like it would be an easy layup for Harris, I think the campaign might be waking up with some regrets this morning. For example, let's take a look at this classic job interview question Harris was asked by one undecided voter. Watch.
What weaknesses do you bring to the table, and how do you plan to overcome them while you're in office?
That's a great question, Joe. Well, I am certainly not perfect, so let's start there. And I think that perhaps a weakness, some would say, but I actually think it's a strength, is I really do value having a team of very smart people around me who bring to my decision-making process different perspectives. My team will tell you, I am constantly saying, let's kick the tire on that. Let's kick the tires on it.
Or take a look at Anderson Cooper asking Harris if she's ever made a mistake.
I don't think I've ever heard the former president admit a mistake. A lot of politicians don't. Is there something you can point to in your life, political life or in your life in the last 4 years, that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
I mean, I've made many mistakes, and they range from, if you've ever parented a child, you make lots of mistakes too. In my role as vice president, I mean, I've probably worked very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues, and I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well versed on an issue and feel compelled to answer a question.
Mm-hmm. And here's one more where Cooper was asked about her flip-flop on the border.
Let's just fix this thing. Let's just fix it. Why is there any ideological perspective on this? Let's just fix the problem.
To fix the problem, you're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under Trump to actually still go to build the wall.
I'm not afraid of good ideas where they occurred.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense, because he actually didn't do much of anything. I just talked about that wall, right? We just talked about it. He didn't actually do much of anything.
But you do want to build some wall.
I want to strengthen our border.
In fact, the whole performance had CNN doubting her. Let's watch.
Well, I'll just tell you what I'm hearing from people who I have been talking to, and that is that if her goal was to close the deal, they're not sure she did that.
A lot of word salad. She was the word salad queen, actually. Without even having a deep dive into politics, you can kind of understand and see that this lady isn't equipped to run the country. And from my estimation on what I was seeing from interviews that I've watched versus listening to Trump talking about different things, being able to go back and reference things that he done in his first term in 2016, we could pull and look at the numbers. But just hearing those two individuals talk about the current state of what we were dealing with in this country, their solutions, what they want to do in order to fix what's going on in this country was very interesting. Her vice president was Tim Walz.
It's been a winning argument for Democrats on many ballots, but I want to clarify what the law is there in Minnesota. Abortion Finder, a website that helps women find access, says abortion is legal throughout pregnancy in Minnesota. There is no ban or limit on abortion in Minnesota based on how far along in a pregnancy you are. You signed the bill that makes it legal through all 9 months. Is that a position you think Democrats should advocate for nationally?
Look.
Wait a minute. Wait. Before he even gets to his answer, is that true? So basically, you can eliminate a baby, a fetus that is grown into your stomach all the way through 9 months of pregnancy, and that don't even have anything to do with incest or rape or anything like that. Just you could just so when they say a woman should be able to choose what she does with her body, despite how it affects something else, they really mean that. Let me rewind this because I just want to make sure that I heard the question the way that I thought I heard the question. Let me just see something really quickly because that
Pregnancy
can't be
administration
true.
argument for Democrats as well. I want to talk about abortion too, because this came up at the debate. It's been a winning argument for Democrats on many ballots, but I want to clarify what the law is there in Minnesota. Abortion Finder, a website that helps women find access, says abortion is legal throughout pregnancy in Minnesota. There is no ban or limit on abortion in Minnesota based on how far along in a pregnancy you are. You signed the bill that makes it legal through all 9 months. Is that?
Let me see how he answer because maybe the information that they're presenting is wrong. So I just want to make sure that we all clear.
Position you think Democrats should advocate for nationally?
Look, the vice president and I have been clear. The restoration of Roe versus Wade is what we're asking for.
But that
This is
law
a
goes
woman's
far
right
beyond Roe v. Wade.
to make her own choice. The law is very clear. It does not change that. That was been debunked on every occasion.
But
But
wait,
look, this is a.
but let's agree. What you
win.
signed is there's not a single limit through 9 months of pregnancy. Roe had a trimester framework that did have limits through the pregnancy. The Minnesota law does not have that.
This puts the decision with the woman and her health care providers.
That's crazy. That is insane.
The stolen valor claims, the tampons in boys' bathrooms, a lot of radical, progressive, liberal type initiatives. Put it into place in Minnesota. You seen that kind of carry over into what his pitch was to the country as well. So what I understood that Trump was running on securing the border, cutting off illegal immigrants coming into this country illegally, a more focused approach on America first, bringing jobs back into the country, tariff plan.
The country is very, very nicely, and I think it's going to have a very positive effect on everybody, including those other countries. So I'll sign this, and we will see you again on April the 2nd. In terms of this, it's going to be another round, and it's about making America great again, making it strong and prosperous again. Thank you very much.
So basically, in a nutshell, I think that Trump pretty much explained it. But in a nutshell, what he's saying is that we're taking a bi-level approach, right? In the first phase, obviously with the tariffs, what it does is it first protects the auto industry here in the United States of America because we're very profitable for other countries. The second thing that it does is it creates a ton. And when I say ton, I think tens, maybe even hundreds of thousands of construction jobs with the amount of plants and the amount of things that we're basically going to be building so that we can create way more American jobs and we protect our industries that's already existing. As he indicated, there are plants that already are under capacity. And so there's a lot of cars, a lot of manufacturers that's outside of the United States of America that build here in America or assemble here in America. And they'll be able to raise the capacity, which protects jobs, gives overtime, and it creates new jobs for people that are looking to get in the industry. The next thing that it does is it also protects our industries as far as steel and aluminum, and it allows for them to ramp up. But while these jobs, and we're creating new construction jobs, and then long term, you're creating new manufacturing jobs, while these jobs are being spun up, what we're also doing is making money off the tariffs themselves because we are the largest consuming nation in the world. We are the piggy bank. We are the ones that everybody is getting the money from. And so instead of everybody siphoning off and taking advantage of the United States of America, now we bolster our own industries. We become self-reliant. We build more jobs. We also don't allow for other countries that are tariffing us and do charge us to not only manufacture but sell cars in their country. we now get to lower the prices over a longer period of time while actually boosting our ability to be able to spend and buy.
The no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security. A lot, the things that I feel like American middle class and working class citizens should all been in alignment with. The things that Kamala was talking about was more so just the idea of hope, trying to play on people's heartstrings with different stories about her growing up and how it was for her, and how her mom had a friend that owned a small business and how she was going to do things for small business owners, address price gouging for grocery stores. So she even tried to steal the no tax on tips that Trump was campaigning on. And so I'm seeing that and I'm articulating that to the people around me. So first it was with Joe and Trump, and they would say that we're voting for Joe Biden because he's the lesser of two evils, which that's not true.
Look at what they value and look at their budget and what they're proposing. Romney wants to he said in the first 100 days, he's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
And I think when people say things like that, it's just like an out. It's like an easy out for people to basically align with a white candidate on the Democrat side that they normally vote for, because we're not going to sit up here and act like that the Black community as a collective in the United States don't vote majority Democrat and have been voting majority Democrat for like the past 60 years.
Now, a lot of you vote for the Democratic Party, the slave party, and you don't do your research. Some of you think you're smart, but you're dumb in the same sense. It's like, how can you vote for a party if you say that you have moral values and you vote against your values for a party because you said your claim is that the other party is racist? Well, there have been plenty of statements, racist statements said within the Democratic Party on black ICE agents, calling them a nigger. But I don't hear none of you crying out about that. The only thing you bent on doing is calling Trump a racist.
That's a fact, and the numbers support that as well. So they justify it by saying that Joe Biden, at first they saying Joe Biden is the lesser of two evils when compared to him and Trump. But when he stepped down out of the election because the whole country seen the inability of him to even get through a debate, which basically confirmed all the speculation that was surrounding his situation as far as him physically and mentally being able to be in a position to run the country and speak effectively. We've seen Kamala step in without a primary.
And this convention is unprecedented in the sense that there's a nominee that didn't receive a single vote in a presidential primary. In fact, when she ran for president herself, she dropped out before the votes were cast in her own state. She didn't receive a single primary vote. She didn't receive one this year. So I think what we're witnessing is something that's never been done before in American history, to see a candidate just slid in this way.
You can't anoint a candidate without having a primary, because when we seen Kamala Harris in the previous primary, we seen her go up against Tulsi Gabbard. We all know the viral clip from that exchange. She looked ill-equipped at that point.
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting Black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
And my thing is all while this election was going on, we heard that if Kamala Harris doesn't win, it's going to be because of misogyny. We don't want to see a woman leading the country. They were trying to be critical on black men.
I'm speaking to men directly now. Part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that. And I think anybody you are talking to in a barbershop, anybody you are talking to in your house, in your family, at church, who is coming with that kind of attitude, I think you have to ask them, well, how can that be? Because the women in our lives have been getting our backs this entire time. They've been raising us and working and having our backs. And when we get in trouble and the system's not working for us, they're the ones who are out there marching and protesting. And so now you're thinking about sitting out or even supporting someone.
Embracing a black woman as the president. People saying, well, how could you not vote for this woman? Your mother is black. Your grandmother is black. You were raised by a black woman. How could you not vote for this woman? And then to make that even worse, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Candace Owens, but she has a whole mini series where she debunked that Kamala is actually black and she's actually white and Irish.
Another email that was received, headline in the email was Kamala Harris is German Jewish. This guy is saying, no, I have figured this out. Actually, we do know who the father was of Joseph Alexander Harris, was Bravo Harris. Joseph Bravo, by the way, had a brother and his name was Michael Ralph Bravo. And he is registered as a Freemason in Jamaica. Look at this. The Hebrews resident from the same book in St. Anne Parish assembled for divine worship on Yom Kippur at the home of Joseph Harris. And he believes that this is the father of Joseph Alexander Harris. If this is correct, he is saying that this would, of course, be known to the Harris family. We would obviously know that she had Jewish relatives, which, again, just keeps leading us to this question of why hide any of this? This is not something that the world would be upset about or angry about. So I just don't understand why we are hiding certain relatives, pretending not to know certain ancestral things. What is the explicit aim of that?
First it was alleged, and then Candace actually went and dug up birth certificates, marriage licenses, and death certificates from her family, connecting the dots, going all the way back in her family tree, pinpointing the discrepancy on this race thing, because the black community as a collective, we look for other black people to represent us in politics, and that's the end all be all. Because in the previous administration, Kamala Harris was supposed to be border czar. And we all know the amount of immigrants that came into this country, right? We all know.
We are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. I don't understand the point that you're making. I'm not discounting the importance of the border.
Well, I mentioned it because even I know Republicans have certainly come at you on this, but Democratic Congressman Cuellar has a border district, has said to you and the president, come.
They came in by the millions, undocumented, unvetted, and she was supposed to be going to visit the border, check to see how things were going, make sure that the process was being handled in the correct fashion. She failed at that miserably. That really made her look bad. It made her look bad. So understanding this, we fast forward and we realize that Trump is actually about to win the election. So people are panicking. I was making posts on my social media. I was told that if I post that JD Vance articulates himself very well, that would be controversial. J.D. Vance articulates himself very well. That's controversial. So it was a lot of things that I was faced with that was a first for me because, like I said, this is the first election that I've really paid attention to and that I participated in. I did contribute to that percentage and that uptick of black men who voted for Trump because I felt like he was way more equipped to do the job in order to run the country versus a Kamala Harris. I just tried to look at it objectively. I think a lot of times the Democratic Party tries to manipulate and sway people. I think that party plays on the heartstrings of black folks and people that aren't aware or aren't as in tune with politics and the things that's going on from a policy perspective. And they fearmonger, dish out so much propaganda, and they basically turned the country against Donald Trump.
I like her. Please.
I like him too. One thing I like about him, he keeps it real just like Grandma. I appreciate that because I can trust him because he tells exactly how he feels and what he thinks. Thank God for this president. I am filled, my cup runneth over. Because he allowed his constituents, his people, to come to my house to interview me, to talk about the murder of my grandson. It seemed like nobody cared. I'm an advocate for murder. I marched, I rallied, I pulled out other families in the District of Columbia that had murders and did not have answers. We marched and we rallied, and nobody heard me, Democrats. Get mad at me. Until this Republican sent his constituents, his people out there to interview me in my home. Have you ever heard of a thing? Then they invited me twice before Congress to testify for the beautiful bill that's going to change crime in the district. If you kill somebody, okay, you take a life, you do life. Just that simple. If you do a harsh crime, you do harsh time. Just that simple. And then we need National Guard, and which we did years ago. He brought it on. I love him. I don't want to hear nothing you got to say about that racist stuff. And don't be looking at me on the news hating on me because I'm standing up for somebody that deserves to be standing up for. Get off the man's back. Let him do his job. He's doing the right thing. Back up off of him. And Grandma said it.
From my understanding of it, before he started running for president, nobody really had an issue with Donald Trump. It was either that people wasn't too concerned with him or people thought he was cool. From the Apprentice show, being there to financially support Jesse Jackson during his presidential run because Trump was considering running even back then, but he stepped out of the race because Jesse Jackson was running. He stepped down and then he helped his campaign and he funded his campaign because he looked at Jesse as a friend and they were friends.
I want to begin by expressing our sadness at the passing of a person who I knew very well. Jesse was a piece of work, I want to tell you. He was a piece of work, but he was a good man. He was a real hero, and I just want to pay my highest respects to Reverend Jesse Jackson. He's a good man.
Him going on shows like The View, we see the same hosts that are constantly critiquing and spreading false information and all these false claims on him, speaking bad on his name, dragging his name through the mud. We seen him going on these same shows before he started running for president, and they loved him. I'm talking about kissing him on the cheek, hugging him, listening to him, and he was saying some of the same things. Trump didn't change. It's just the media coverage around him changed. So when I understood that, and I'm seeing clips of them showing Trump before running for president, the places that he was going to, some of the people that were here around versus now, those same people the whole tune switched. It just confused me. So that was also raising red flags with me too.
The episode of you when you were on The View, and I think it was 2015 or 2006, like when you were running for president.
Right.
And you got introduced as our friend Donald Trump.
That's right.
Whoopi Goldberg gives you a big hug and a kiss. Joy Behar gives you a big hug. Barbara Walters gives you a big hug. They all loved you. They were all talking about how you might be conservative in your financial positions, but you're very liberal socially. They were talking about you in such a favorable light. The audience was cheering. And then you actually started winning in the polls, and then the machine started working towards you.
Yeah.
But there's probably no one in history that I've ever seen that's been attacked the way you've been attacked.
I came to Maryland to be with my ex-fiance because she was already moving out here, and we reconnected via social media, and things escalated very quickly and we got very serious. So to make a long story short, fast forward, we had our issues and different things like that. I'm not going to get into any specifics. Fast forward to 2024, I was having my speculations and different thoughts about what this election was looking like. So I decided to leave Pontiac, Michigan in order to pursue a serious relationship, get engaged, get married, start a family, work on building my career with the opportunity that was out here. I believe that my speculation and my curiosity, a lot of the things that I was agreeing with as far as Trump from what was going on in the election, that was a nail in the coffin because the energy really started changing, especially once we got the election results in and we started seeing that Trump was going to make people that were involved in the government that had all the work from home positions.
A lot of the jobs that are being handed out, especially when we started to see the layoffs at the federal government level, right? And we seen Elon Musk and his crew and all of them went in there and they started to lay it off. We didn't see these same women getting these same jobs and being able to compete in the private sector as they are in the public sector. And what happens is they go into these jobs expecting to get their student loans forgiven, and they work there for 10 years in the public sector with that expectation. And at the same time, they don't meet the expectation to be able to compete in the private sector. And that's why you see a misalignment as far as the competitive balance when it comes to Black people competing for jobs in the private sector versus the public sector. In a private sector, you actually have to be software engineers. You have to be mechanical engineers. You have to be in STEM fields and be able to get these same type of jobs and qualify to go up the economic ladder and not just in the political landscape or the public sector. And we cannot continue to let Black women lead us, not only at the polls, but when it comes to determining what happens, in these political circles, right?
People were going to start having to come back in the office, and, people's schedules and things were flipped upside down because a lot of people centered their schedules around working from home and being flexible, being able to take care of a lot of different things versus going to an office Monday through Friday or however many days out the week. It was kind of a change of pace. People, worlds are going to be turned upside down. Inefficiency going on within the government, a lot of positions that really weren't getting any work done, that fat was getting trimmed. A lot of people were under the impression that the Project 2025 was a real thing, or we're going back to slavery. I've seen a lot of people around me that were supposed to be my family here in Maryland as I started voicing my opinions, like I said, via my social media. And the only person that really showed any objectivity, whether they agree with me or not, is no longer here. May God rest her soul. She has a very special place in my heart. What people seen shift with me is that I started sharing a lot of different posts and a lot of different information on my socials about what was going on within the election, how the Democratic Party manipulates and deceives people. Real information and real insight that I was finding out. And I said largely from Anton, because I was listening to Anton every day. He has a show called The Millionaire Morning Show. He also has another channel to where he talks about different things going on in the Black community politically. And he's very objective, even though he's a Republican and a conservative. He calls it down the middle, shows reports from both sides of the aisle. I never thought that I would be faced with a situation to where I would see people change on me because of my thoughts and what my perspective was about this election. I know a lot of families were split in half.
And instead of having the conversation to get a better understanding, and even the Word of God says, in everything you do, get understanding, instead of having a conversation to figure out where we can get understanding, maybe I was off, maybe you was off, maybe you in a different space in your life, maybe it's different things that you're voting for that better align with what your values are. Now, in this election, I don't know what y'all can talk about, because as much as they like to paint conservatives as divisive, the fact of the matter is the Democrats were more divisive than I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, they basically drew a line in the sand, and I'm cool with that. I'm not complaining. I'm cool with that. They said, listen, if you don't vote for this person and you misogynistic, if you don't vote for this person and you ain't black, if you don't vote for this person, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And I'm cool with that. I'm not tripping, because I'm okay with being by myself, and there's no shortage of a new tribe that I found along my journey. See, it's 9 billion people on this earth, and I think that it's incredibly, incredibly arrogant to think that it is a privilege to be your friend. To be your friend.
There was even things going on social media. This was around Thanksgiving as well. People that are voting for Trump aren't allowed over for Thanksgiving. The common perception that we've become accustomed to, which is a very ignorant perception, but all Republicans are racist. All white Republicans are racist. And if you're a black Republican, you're a coon, a sellout, Sambo, bootlicker, Uncle Tom. But insert whatever, insults they have for black people that have a different perspective, that think differently about politics. I experienced that up close and personal.
We have to stop identity politics. I am not a fan of identity politics. If Trump was to have a whole cabinet of black people because they were the best qualified for the job and the most loyal to what it is that he promised voters, then I would be okay with it. If Trump had all white people in his cabinet for the exact same reason, because they were the best capable for the job and they would be loyal to what he promised voters, I would be okay with it. But to put a person in the cabinet because they are white, or to put a person in this cabinet because they are black, or to put a person in this cabinet because they are Indian, or whatever it is that you want to identify as, is wrong. I don't believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion. I believe in the most qualified person for the job is the person that should get the job to further what he promised American voters. I am not, and let me repeat this for the people in the back, I don't care who you are, what your sexual orientation is, or what you were born as far as the things that you can't control, woman, man, gender, whatever. I don't support it. I don't care about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because here's the question. How many of y'all will say, you know what? This is for my black people. This is for my black people. How many of y'all will say, you know what? We got an all-black organization here. We got an all-black organization. We got the Black Panthers time 230,000 version of the Black Panthers. We got all Black Lives Matters. We got a black barbershop. We got a black beauty salon. We got a black company. We got this all black organization. We got blackity black Afrotech. How come there isn't more diversity here? How many of y'all are saying that we have to have a white man or a white woman in this organization in order to balance things out?
It was very hard for me to deal with. I believe that was a nail in the coffin to our situation because the premarital counseling, all the different things that we went through in order to make it work, and knowing that I voted for Trump, that was the nail in the coffin in my estimation on how it went. I think after that situation with me and my ex-fiance went sour, that caused me to lean into it a little bit more. And the more and more I started listening to Anton and different conservative and Republican content creators, news outlets, listening, getting a better understanding of what was going on, I think politics is a game meant to divide people and to keep us at odds with each other. And I think that the two-party system is flawed. Just politics in general needs to be more solution-oriented versus political theater. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors, a lot of broken promises. I wish that it was a more concerted effort on actually addressing the needs of the constituents that live in the areas around this country. We're trying to throw pedophile and rape accusations on Donald Trump's name without no real proof. I'm bringing all these things up to people that were around me in Maryland because it's not about kissing ass. It's not about selling out. I was more so concerned on the policy and actually the things that were being campaigned on. What are you campaigning on? And I honestly didn't feel like Kamala was campaigning on anything that was worth any type of substance.
Politically, women that don't like what you say about the fact that you're not voting for Kamala Harris. Now, they've got men in tow that help them substantiate their argument. Jamal Bryant, Barack Obama, they must be misogynists because they don't want to vote for a woman. They must be gay. I'm sure that the women in their lives are so absolutely mad at them. Have y'all experienced this too?
We're just listening to you.
Oh, y'all like that? Okay, so y'all agree, right? I mean, it's true. The first thing that they say is you must be misogynistic because you don't want to vote for a woman. No, she's just bad. She's bad. She's bad at what she says. She's bad at debating. She's bad with her policies. She has a horrible record.
It was fake. It seemed very disingenuous. It seemed very inauthentic. They just anointed this woman that they said was black, and she isn't even black. She isn't even black. That's insane. Like for me with politics, I always say, the truth really doesn't matter if it doesn't fit the narrative that you support. When Candace Owens exposed Kamala Harris, nobody really cared about that.
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
What we seen was a lot of black women in relationships encourage their man to go to the polls with them and vote Democrat and not look at anything that was going on, because all Kamala Harris was running on was protecting women's rights, which I said was basically a fancy term for abortion, address price gouging with grocery stores, and addressing small business owners, allocating funds to first-time home buyers in order to be in a better position to purchase a home. A lot of these things were just statements that she was making. And it wasn't really like, I was looking more towards the policy, and she didn't really have no policy. That was very alarming to me. And the situation that happened with me and her side of the family that took place over social media, this was really not going to work. That is the reason why I've been so heavily invested in politics now, because I like to turn my pain into focus. And that's what I had to do. And just being more informed about different things going on in the political realm in this world, from not just federally, but statewide too, and locally, just being involved and more aware of what's going on, having a better idea on who to vote for based on what their ideas and what their pitches is towards to fix the problems that's going on within the communities. That's what I think is most important. A lot of times, my people in the black community, the only thing that they're concerned about is race. The person has to be black. The person has to look like you in order for them to do an effective job, in order to address the issues that we think need to be addressed. But we see and different countless examples of black leadership around these different cities and states, and they're not doing too well at all. And they're prioritizing illegal immigrants over black people, over their own constituents. Black people, white people, they're advocating for illegal immigrants, illegal aliens over their own constituents. The Democratic Party has effectively abandoned black people and focused their attention on illegal migrants, illegal aliens.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities.
Getting them into the country, getting them citizenship so they can vote and become the new voting bloc. They've seen that there's been an exodus of the black male vote and the Latino vote that went Republican versus Democrat. So how they're thinking and how they're perceiving it is that we need to focus our attention on getting these illegal immigrant citizenship and getting them registered to vote so they can become our new voting bloc. And then now we can start making broken promises to them, feeding them all this false hope. I guess people couldn't see that, or I'm not sure if they really care, really leaning into this tribalistic, this cult-like mindset, saying that we have to vote Democrat no matter what, vote blue no matter who. And we've been doing that for the last 60 plus years as the Black collective, and we haven't seen no progress. If I'm being honest, the overall state of the Black community in the United States is in a really bad state as a result of this, but nobody wants to talk about that. Not saying that you have to love these people, but just voting for what's in the best interest of regular everyday citizens that go to work, that are being taxed like crazy. Democrat policies taking a large amount of taxes out of work checks, putting them into different initiatives to where we see no results. All of our money is being taxed, but you really don't see no improvement around these cities. The spree that I went on as far as sharing different things on my social media accounts, trying to get people to see and show people how these politicians are literally playing in our faces. I was outcasted. I don't look to necessarily align with people just because they have the same skin color as me. I'm looking to align with people that have the same morals, values, standards. So yeah, they rebranded him. They successfully rebranded him as an extreme racist, only looking out for his billionaire friends, his billionaire buddies. They called him a dictator. They called him a king. There's countless protests, no king protests. And I even see people protesting out here in Maryland. People have labeled Republicans racist.
You come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black. Somehow, if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wealthy kids. Have here. The three congressmen you have here, two of them look like they could They really could and did play ball, and the other one looks like he could bomb you.
Without doing no research, without having anything to substantiate it. Because if you look at it, Jim Crow, the KKK, and slavery, just the idea of slavery, Southern Democrats back in the day. The Republican Party was created to oppose slavery. The Republican Party were the ones that made sure that the slaves were free, and they went and seen it through. Under the leadership of Abraham Lincoln, a Republican president. Frederick Douglass, Republican. The first 20 black congressional representatives were all Republican. Historically, people always want to lean into history and being in touch with the ancestors, because I always hear this, oh, let's be in touch with the ancestors. We're going to be in touch with our ancestors with all these different things, but why don't nobody never want to be in touch with the ancestors? And I'm talking about the black community when it comes to politics. Why are we not leaning into being in touch with our ancestors politically? Because that's where our ancestors started off as Republican. And this whole thing about this party switch, man, I find that hard to believe, because we just recently seen the Southern Poverty Law Center get exposed for funding some extremist groups and racist groups, most notably the KKK. So they preach this party switch idea, which is false, because we've seen that they've been exposed, and members of the Southern Poverty Law Center were white and black. There's black representation in that group. How is it a party switch and we find out that the Democrats have still been funding this stuff? But what we do in the black community, which is a very sad thing, when facts are presented, we move the goalposts. Every time a fact is presented, we move the goalposts. People love moving the goalpost. And people move the goalpost on how Trump is being perceived, and everybody ran with it because the media just shoved it down people's throats and continuously put it up in people's faces, lie after lie after lie. After lie after lie, misinformation, disinformation, propaganda, the whole bit. And it was in full force. It was in full force. And nobody could see through it.